Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Greetings of peace and blessings be with each and every one of you. Welcome to the final segment of Understanding Islam, wherein this is a series we are concluding today of brief videos. We talk about various subject matters related to better understanding the religion. Today's topic and theme is the fact that there is no compulsion in the religion of Islam. Islam's position is that there's only one God to be worshipped, and we have to embrace the final Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, as the last messenger of God. And the Quran is the final testament. Now, whoever embraces this and worships the one and only, then they will attain the success of this temporary life in this world, as well as attain the everlasting success of the hereafter in God's kingdom. Now, it's a responsibility of the Muslim that whatever the Muslim loves for him or herself, they should also want for others. And therefore, there is a duty upon, and there is an obligation upon every Muslim to invite others, to invite those who do not know Islam or those who do not believe in Islam towards the message of Islam. And the fellow human beings have to be exposed to these teachings by the Muslims. However, in no way, shape, or form can anyone ever force or compel another person to embrace Islam, regardless of who the Muslim is, whether the Muslim is a head of state, a president or a prime minister of a country, or whether it's a ordinary citizen of a country, whether the Muslim is living in a Muslim majority country or in a Muslim minority country. No Muslim in any circumstance or situation can ever force or compel another person to embrace Islam. The Quran is very clear on this. La ikraha fi din. There is no compulsion in religion. We also find an instruction, in fact, a summoning to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, as he was propagating the message of Islam. أَفَأَنْتَ تُكْرِهُ النَّاسَ حَتَّى يَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. O Prophet Muhammad, Prophet of Islam, will you force people to embrace Islam? This is not suitable. So what we learn from these beautiful teachings of Islam is that we can never, as Muslims, force anyone or compel anyone to embrace the religion of Islam. The spread of Islam has always been based on love, based on character, as well as appeal towards the teachings and the tenets of the religion of Islam. Let's look at some examples. In the 13 years of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, living in Mecca, he was in a situation where people didn't like his message. And what they did is they persecuted him, as well as the Muslims who are regarded as the pioneers. They were not publicly allowed to practice the religion of Islam in the situation they were living in. They were unable to publicly pray. They were unable to publicly recite the Quran or share the message of Islam. Despite these difficult circumstances, the people, notable people, honorable people, embraced Islam. In fact, the circumstances were so difficult that 3 migrations took place. So much persecution upon the Muslims in Mecca that some of the Muslims who could not tolerate the abuse and the phobia, they migrated to Abyssinia twice, and then finally a majority of the Muslims had migrated from Mecca to a city known as Medina. Now, despite these difficult circumstances, where there was no real authority in these 13 years, there was no real strength or power, notable individuals, Abu Bakr, Umar ibn al-Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, Hamza. These are all great personalities. They embraced Islam during these difficult circumstances. So how can anyone ever say that Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, forced anybody to accept Islam? In fact, after Muhammad had migrated and the Muslims had migrated from Mecca to Medina, many people who were residents of Mecca, they secretly hidingly came away from Mecca and came to Muhammad in Medina and embraced Islam. Why? Again, out of their own will and voluntarily. So it's never been that Islam has ever forced anyone to accept Islam. In the city of Medina, it was a Muslim majority. There were 3 Jewish tribes that are very well known in the history of Medina. And these 3 Jewish tribes, they remained on Judaism. They remained following the practices and the teachings of the Torah, despite being under the Muslim rule. And till the very last, they remained on their Judaism. If the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, ever forced anyone or compelled anyone to accept Islam, he would have taken this opportunity. Being the head of state and being in a majority, he would have compelled these Jewish tribes to embrace Islam. But he did not do that. Rather, he continued to engage with them. And despite the different religions, they were peaceful with one another in the context of the city of the Medina, the Muslim majority city of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him. We look at the world map. What do we see? There was 800 years of Islamic rule under Islamic Spain. Despite the authority and the rule being Muslim under Islamic Spain, the country remained a Christian majority. If compelling others and forcing others to embrace Islam was part of the religion of Islam, then would not have this Muslim authority and this rule forced the Christian majority to embrace Islam. This was not the case. Islam gave freedom of religion to the people in these circumstances and these situations. You look at the world map once again, Indonesia, Malaysia, East Africa. These are places where there's a lot of Muslims. They are Muslim majority countries. Indonesia is the world's largest Muslim populated country. The fact of the matter is, there was never ever a Muslim army that entered Indonesia, Malaysia, or East Africa. How did these people embrace Islam? How did these countries become a Muslim majority country? It was by one of 2 ways. One is that tourists who came in these regions who were Muslims, they shared the message of Islam. And people were attracted towards these teachings of Islam. And they embraced Islam voluntarily. And another historical fact is that many Muslim traders, they would come from the Muslim regions to the Indonesian region, to the Malaysian region, to the East African regions. And during the trade, these non-Muslims of these particular countries and regions, they would be appealed and attracted at the character, at the teachings of the religion of Islam and the Muslims. And that is what led to these people embracing Islam. It was never ever such that these countries were ever forced, these populations were ever forced into Islam. You look at India, the history of India, and this whole region. There were a few families who ruled the India that is known to have also included many parts of Bangladesh and also Pakistan in history under the Muslim rule for thousands of years, for 1,000 years. In fact, according to some reports, it goes almost to 2,000 years when we study the history of India. Yet the country remained a Hindu majority under Muslim rule for almost 2,000 years. So again, this is a fact that the reason for this is that no Muslim leader or no Muslim who practices the true teachings of Islam has ever forced anyone or compelled anyone to accept and embrace the teachings of Islam. So in conclusion, what the fact of the matter is that Muslims have an obligation. Anyone who subscribes to Islam, they have an obligation to share the teachings of Islam, but it must be done lovingly, and it must be done without any force or without any compulsion. It has to be done with respect and dialogue, peaceful dialogue. And that concludes today's segment, and in fact, this whole series of Understanding Islam. If you've watched all the videos on this series, I hope you have benefited, and we pray that the Almighty continue to empower us with knowledge and the great teachings of the traditions. We'll see you in one of the upcoming series here at Mathaba, and we pray and we wish all of you the best in this life as well as in the hereafter. Thank you. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings be with each and every one of you.